Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with another video on the Legend of Korra Pro Bending Arena game. This one I'm going to focus more in on how the setup and how the solo benders play. So as you can see here, there's Unalaq, Pali, and Kuvira. So before I get into how the game works in practice, let's go over the different I suppose team boards for each of these three benders. I'm going to use Pali in the example game, but the other two you get, of course, are Kuvira and Unalaq here. So, as you can see, you get a deck for each of the characters. It's not as big, there's not as many cards to it. The cards are basically the same type in that you can see there that's like a 4 power piercing attack with 4 range. It also puts a hold, and then it has Unalaq special symbol there, the soul siphon. Plus it's got that that symbol means that like you do 2 damage, and then you can also do like I think damage into like the space after it. No, I think you do 4 damage and then you do 2 damage into 2 spaces next to where you do the 4 damage. That's what that symbol means. And that's Unalaq's best card, Destroy the Soul, his 5-cost card. Soul Siphon is explained here. You get the Spirit Bending token here, which is just a token that's unique to Unalaq. You have it at the start, and you spend it to use this ability when you see it come up on a card like this one. I think only like 2 of his cards have it, but we'll go through that in just a second. So it says, if you have your Spirit Bending token on your villain board, you may spend it by returning it to the supply. If you do, choose one bender in the target space of the attack. Your opponent must discard a card of that bender's element from their hand. If they do not have a card, return your Spirit Bending token to your villain board. So when it comes up, it's not going to get wasted. You either hit something or you don't. And it's really good because that completely slows your opponent down. That stops them from generating a chi if they want to spend their card that way, or doing an attack to you. And there is the potential to do this like twice in a turn, if you can get the token back, obviously. There's a rule, they probably should have it on the description here, but that you can actually discard one of your cards as Unalaq from your hand at the start of your turn to get the token back. So otherwise, the only other way to get it back is this trick card for Unalaq, which is regain your Spirit Bending token or gain 1 chi. So that's how you do the double discard, which is one of the cool plays that Unalaq can do. So yeah, when you play with the solo benders, you have to play with tricks. It's a part of the rules of the game where, like, if it's just 2 pro bending teams against each other, you can actually choose to play without the tricks if you don't want it to be, you know, that little bit extra complicated. But you get 3 tricks per solo bender, so there's no real deck building choice as such with the tricks. You just get 3 specific ones, and they're fairly good. Battle Hardened. Remove all hold tokens from your bender space and deflect 2. So that's a very good defensive ability, especially for a solo bender where if he gets knocked back a zone, it's a full zone advance, and that can be really bad. So it's a very good defensive card to really get you out of a situation, so you make sure you're not knocked back a zone. This, of course, is perfect for the way Unalaq plays. And then Siphon Strength is remove 2 of your water tokens from one space with an opposing bender. You gain 1 chi and your opponent loses 1 chi. So that means you can basically like attack into a space and then choose to do this to kind of obviously accelerate your chi. So pretty good. Anyway, briefly going through his cards. So we went over Destroy the Soul. There's his kind of one of his basic cards. So you can see here, even a 0-cost card for Unalaq is doing like 3 damage, 3 range, it holds, and there's a movement. There's the same card again. Poison the Well is his like basic Soul Siphon card, Spirit Bending card. You can see there, move, attack of 3, range 3, Soul Siphon. That's pretty good. Here's another one of his attacks. Move, guard 1, piercing attack, all high range. Poison the Well again, Poison the Well. Tidal Surge here you can see is really powerful. 2 piercing attack, 4 range, which transitions into 2 more spaces to do 2 damage, which transitions into another. It transitioned into 1 space to do 2 damage, into another space to do 3 damage. So that's really powerful, double move, which is good to get out of hold tokens. And then yeah, that's basically everything. Yeah. So that's Unalaq's cards. I think he actually plays really, really well with the discarding ability. Kuvira next, as you can see here, there's her symbol, there's her explanation of her ability, Earth Empire, and of course you get her own deck. So yeah, we'll go over her tricks and her ability first. So prowess is her ability, and it's just an ability. When you get it on one of the cards, like this one here, so you can see it's just part of this, like move, guard 2, piercing attack of 4, activate prowess. And there's no tokens involved, it's just choose one of your tricks and activate it. After doing so, if it has a yellow fan, do not roll the referee die. If it has a removal icon, instead roll the referee die. On a fan result, remove the trick, otherwise it remains in play. Because again, the rules with the tricks is that usually that symbol there would mean that you have to, when you play it, it's just used up, it's removed from the game. But her ability allows this to sort of become a multi-use card, where you roll to see if you can keep it, and it makes it turns a fan icon, which usually can give you a yellow card, which again, 2 yellow cards means for a solo bender they lose the game. It turns that into basically a free trick that you can use whenever you want. Why would you not use it if you get prowess? And that's what's so good about Kuvira. She only has this one, this is her only yellow fan one, but this is a free trick if you get prowess, and that's really, really good. So here's what they are. Potential multi-use resistances. Futile. Remove all hold tokens from your space. Put one hold token in any space. So they all kind of have a very defensive ability like that, which is a kind of get out of jail free one almost, because it has to be that way. Otherwise, like, you know, one hit completely leads to a zone advance. Dynamic Shift is the one that she can use for free with prowess. Target one space with one or more of your earth tokens. You may deflect as many of them that are in the target space. So a lot of her attacks tend to do, like, you know, like this one, 4 damage. So you do 4 damage into one zone, you activate this, and then you can deflect as many of those tokens as you want into zones next to that. So that actually really spreads out a lot of her damage, which is quite good. Great Uniter is target one adjacent opposing bender, move the target bender one space within the same zone. Just moves them around a bit. It actually is somewhat kind of handy the way it works. So again, you can see how powerful her attacks. This is like a mid-range attack. You know, move, guard 1, you know, prowess, piercing 4, prowess. Here's her one of her basic attacks. You know, 3 damage, 1 range, hold, move. That's really nice. Her most powerful card, her 5 cost card, move, 2 range, normal 4, 2 range, normal 4, prowess. That's pretty good. And you keep going through. You know, here's an attack, 5 damage, prowess, piercing. That's nice. Kuvira sometimes gets into trouble. Like a card, if you have too much piercing, you can't do token annihilation, so it's not great defensively. But yeah, that's what Kuvira is about. I find her to not be the most interesting solo bender, but you know, it's fine, I suppose. And then Pali is over here, but we're going to demonstrate her in the game, and I'll obviously explain that itself. So yeah, I'm just going to cut and fully prepare this game. What I'm going to do, as you can see here, is it's going to be Red Sands Rabaroos against Pali, and we're going to explain the full setup here and how the game actually works. Okay, so for the setup for a game against a solo bender, the way you do it is that, of course, the normal team sets up as normal. You know, you're obviously going to have both. Sorry, Pali goes there. All your characters are going to be in the first zone here, obviously right on the halfway line, and you can organize your benders in any of these spaces that you want. So specifically, I've set it up this way, as I'll explain in just a second. There's a reason there's not a space between the water bender and the fire bender here for the Rabaroos. And then Pali is right in the middle because it's just the easiest spot. She's going to have a lot of movement, she's going to put a lot of attacks. It helps to have her in the middle to spread those around. So that's the basic setup for the board. We have our tokens here and so on. As you can see here, we have hold tokens, because we're not going to be using days or anything like that, because that's a wolf bat technique. We have the momentum token, a referee die, a couple of fans in case obviously people get yellow carded, and then these are combustion tokens, which relate to Pali's ability. As for the board and the cards, Rabaroo's setup is as follows. Their special ability is rally, so they use rally tokens. The rules specify that you start the game with 4 rally tokens. You can only have 4, so if you gain more, they just kind of disappear. But as you use the ability Blitz, they'll go away and you'll need to get them back. So basically what that is just that rally is just to regain the tokens. Blitz is the actual ability. So when that comes up on a card, you may spend 2 of those rally tokens. If you do, immediately draw the top card of your main deck and play it for action. So, you know, it's an extra attack basically. So that's really, really good, because obviously you're using an attack to activate the Blitz ability, and then that immediately transitions into another attack. Plus you can activate a trick, as we'll get into here, because look at the tricks that we're using here. I specifically chose a couple, so they're all a bit different. I don't think I've covered these ones before. So the waterbender trick, again, you don't have to use like one of each. I just did to make it a bit of variety. I could have all water if I really wanted to. So if your waterbender is not isolated, put 1 whole token in 2 different spaces. Not isolated means like this, that they're actually next to a teammate. This would mean that she was isolated. This isn't. So that's why I started her off here, so that I can potentially use that ability on the first turn. So that's a good setup, especially because up against a solo bender, we're going to want to use whole tokens a lot to keep her in space. Otherwise, we're going to have to really spread the damage around, like probably hit like 3 attacks in every zone is probably the only way to almost guarantee a hit. It's actually quite crazy. Earth trick is add 1 whole token to any one space. You may spend 1 chi to keep this trick, so potentially reusable whole tokens. And then to kind of go really nicely with the Rabaru's effect of Blitz, we have go, go, go. Spend 2 chi, draw the top card of your main deck, and immediately play it for action. So this setup here has the Rabaru's with the potential ability to use 6 attacks a turn. Because one of Addie's attack, her most powerful attack, has 2 Blitz icons. So if you have 4 rally tokens saved up and you do that, you can like use your whole hand, so 3 attacks, double Blitz, so that's 2 more attacks, plus the go, go, go attack. So potentially 6 attacks, and that is really, really powerful as like a mega play. So that's the setup for them. We set it so that the Rabarus are going to go first, so they start on 2, but they'll go up to 3 when they start their turn. And as you can see here, the technique decks are as follows: 1 card uncovered. Main deck is here, 6 cards, 2 of each element, the 0 cost cards. And you start with 3 cards in your hand, so that's going to be the opening hand for the Rabarus. The police setup is obviously the one that's a bit different. She's going second, so she starts off with 3 chi. She'll go up to 4 when it starts her turn. Her ability is combustion bending, which I'll explain in just a second. She has 3, again, unique kind of villain solo bender tricks, which we'll go into in a second. The setup is this. She has 4 0 cost, all of the solo benders, they have 4 0 cost cards. That makes up their main deck. So it's always the 0 cards that are part of your main deck. And then you shuffle all the rest of her technique cards into 1 pile, but you have basically 2 technique piles for her. So while of course a team has 1 for each element, the way they do it to make it a little bit more fair here is that it's obviously 1 deck you're drawing from to get your technique pile, but it's 2 different stacks. So you're always going to have 2 options to buy something there. So you're not always stuck on, how do I afford Sparky Boom Boom. So that's that. You draw 2 cards when you start off. So Pali is going to start with these 2 cards in hand, and you can get an idea for the sort of power level here. Guard 2, piercing attack of 2, piercing attack of 1, move, attack of 1, move, combustion bending blast. So that's pretty good. And then there's her most powerful attack. Piercing attack 4, piercing attack 4, combustion. Similarly here, rapid explosions, move, combustion, move. 3 movement, that's really great. Now, here's what combustion bending does. Place a combustion token in any space on the board. When each combustion token in their space, each token counts as 1 hit, as if it were an elemental token. They do not annihilate elemental tokens and are not annihilated by elemental tokens. So that means you can't defend combustion attacks by just like counter attacking basically. You have to move if there's a token in your zone, otherwise you're getting hit. I think there's one trick that can get rid of it, and there's probably some other technical way to do it, but for the most part you have to move to get out of the way of these things. So that's that. Police tricks are as follows. Target one space with at least 2 of your fire tokens and 1 of your combustion tokens. Immediately knock one bender in the target space back 1 zone. So that is very, very powerful. That means that I think this is the only trick in the entire game that's capable of causing a line advance for yourself during your turn. Because usually you have to wait till the end of your opponent's turn to see if your attacks actually do damage, but she has a way to directly force someone back a zone on her own turn. The way it works is that, like, you know, obviously the opposing team still gets to go afterwards. It just changes things a little bit. Incinerate. Remove 1 technique card from your discard pile from the game. Because the one clarification to the rules that there really is for a solo bender is that when they reshuffle their discard pile to make their main deck again after they run out of cards, they don't by default get rid of a technique card from their deck to kind of thin out their deck to use their better cards more often. So this is a card for Pali to basically, for the most part, get rid of some of her 0-cost cards early on in the game, so you can focus once you've bought some of these more expensive cards on doing a lot of damage. Last one, if there are 2 or more opposing fire tokens in your firebender space and no other elemental tokens, remove all fire tokens from your firebender space and place a combustion token anywhere. So that obviously is a little bit more kind of situational. It requires your opponent's firebender to have hit you and so on. So that's what we're dealing with here. Her attack is basically, her ability is just that she can attack anywhere and it's kind of unblockable. So let's start the game. Of course, so what happens here is robbers are going first. They go up to 3 chi. Then we obviously have our cards in hand. This is where we can choose to, if we want to, discard a card to gain a chi. So we'll have to see if we want to do that. And for this case, I actually am going to do that. So we got 2 firebender cards. So what we're going to do is we're just going to discard one of those to gain 1 chi. So that's the way that works. And then we're just going to use these 2 attacks. So as you can see here, Umi's attack, the waterbender, is 1 range, do 1 damage, and then do 1 damage in a zone next to that zone and move 1. So, will we use that first? No, because we want to make sure that she's never isolated, so we can use her trick. So this is where we also want to do Adi's ability first, I think. So yeah, 3 range, 2 attack, and then move. So that's probably what we're going to do. So we'll use that ability. So 2 fire tokens. So what we do here is, yeah, we'll just do straight at Pali, 2 damage, that's correct, and then move 1. So we'll move over here. Then we'll use this card, which is 1 damage and then 1 damage in a different zone, and move. So the way that works is you basically say, okay, I'll do 1 damage here, and then we'll transition that into, the way the card works is that like 1 beside it. I think if you want to, you can actually do like 1 damage here, and then the line goes in here to kind of connect it. But there's those 2 attacks done. Not a lot, but you know, it's the opening turn of the game, and that's how it works. So obviously this is at the point you check for, is there any opposing damage coming in? No, it's the first turn of the game, so we skip that, and we move directly onto this phase of the game where we can buy technique cards and so on. So we have 4 chi, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to buy both of these cards, 1 chi and 2 chi. We want to get the power in play as soon as possible. So basically what happens is that we buy these 2 cards, our chi goes from 4 down to 1. Yeah. These 2 go on top of our deck, but because we're drawing here, we always make sure we have 3 cards in hand. These 2 go to our hand, and we draw the first card left on the top of our deck. So we've got a fairly powerful hand for next turn. Then what we do is we have to make sure there's always one of these cards flipped up. So this kind of comes out on top, and we could potentially buy it next turn if we have enough chi. and this one comes out on top. There. That's our turn done. Then it's Pali's turn. She goes up to 4 chi, of course, and then she has these specific cards in hand. Set Ablaze and Sweltering Heat. Now she's in a bit of trouble here. She obviously has 3 damage here. If she takes those 3 damage, she's eliminated because she goes back 1, 2, off the arena. So she has to get rid of these. Now, this isn't going to do much damage because piercing attacks can't annihilate tokens, but it does have a healing thing here, so that's good. But do we want to do that when we have this thing which allows us to move? So the most effective thing to do here is, oh, and we forgot to, as of last turn, there was a move on the Waterbender card. This was meant to move over here. That's just something I forgot from last turn. So we probably want to do the moving first with her. There are 2 benders over in the corner, so we'll actually use Set Ablaze first with Pali. So she moves across 1 from the center. Then we do 1 firebending damage. So Pali isn't just doing all combustion bending, she still uses fire attacks as well. So we'll put 1 attack against Addy. Then what it is, it's move again. So we'll move into the corner over here. Then what it is combustion bending blast. So instead of using an elemental token, combustion blast, and we just put it anywhere we want. So this is where, and the interesting thing here is in terms of strategy, like she doesn't know for sure every card in my hand, but the Pali knows that you've just bought these 2 cards, so they're in your hand. She just doesn't know what you drew here. So her targeting Addy when she potentially doesn't have an opportunity to move is actually a good strategy. So we'll put the combustion blast here. That way she has to move, or otherwise like they can get rid of that fire token by attacking into it, but the combustion token is going to remain there. Okay, and then we move into the second attack, which is heal 2 damage. There's no need to do that. She's in a free zone. 2 piercing damage and then 1 piercing damage. So again, with the way these tokens work, again, you can't attack into a zone that already has tokens of that element. So you can't double attack into a zone you've already done. So that means Pali can't put more fire tokens against Addy. So we'll put 2 here on Ula, and then we'll put 1, it's 3 range, so we can actually go all the way over here, and then 1 against Umi. So that's a good 2 attacks there from Pali. These 2 go to the discard pile, and then she gets her opportunity to buy some cards. So she has 4 chi, so she can buy this. So she'll buy Rapid Explosion. That basically goes to her hand. And the way it works is that you always get to see what's next. So she could buy that other Rapid Explosion if she wanted to, which she will. So she goes from 4 to 0 chi, but she has 2 Rapid Explosions in hand for next turn. So that's going to be 4 combustion tokens, 6 movement next turn. That's going to be very, very powerful. So then we do the kind of check across for damage. So it's Pali, of course, that we're dealing with here. So she's got nothing here. She's not going to get knocked back. We just clear away these tokens here. They did nothing, and we move on. So we cut back over to the Rabaroos, and we go up to 2 chi here, and then we can use the cards in hand. So as you can see here, one of these cards has a rally token on it to gain rally tokens back. This one has a blitz icon. So of course, in terms of order, you absolutely want to use blitz first and then gain the rally token back. That's the most efficient way to do it. So plus we obviously have to keep in mind here that realistically, I think this turn Addy is going to get knocked back a zone because we didn't get a card for her. We can't move, and we have no way to block that combustion token. So she's by default going back 1 zone, but we probably do want to make sure we get rid of the fire token so that she's not all the way back here and potentially can't do anything. So what we'll do here is we'll use this first attack on Rattle the Ground here to just annihilate the fire token here. So this is obviously Ula here. Her 1 earth attack annihilates this fire token. So that just goes away. That's what effectively happens. The two tokens cancel each other out. She is now able to move. So again, you know, we might have to make two. Might have to let two characters get hit here. So she moves into this zone. She'll also be hit by the combustion blast. Heal 1. This is where like it's kind of like block 1. It's like it's sort of unclear in the rules about like if this works for combustion tokens or not. I take it that it doesn't work with combustion tokens, because I think the ruling on this, the wording in the rulebook specifically states like you can guard against one elemental token, whereas combustion tokens aren't elemental tokens. So the combustion token stays where it is, but then we get to Blitz, of course. So all that happens here is that we activate the Blitz, so 2 rally tokens go away. That's default how the Blitz and rally system works. And then immediately, like it says, immediately draw the top card from your main deck and play it. So it's a Earth card from the top of the deck. We get to guard 1, do 2 damage, and then rally. So we're going to get both of our rally tokens back. So guard 1, we do 2 Earth damage, and that has a range of 1. So we can go actually diagonally here. That still counts. So we do 2 damage to Pali there. For now, at least, she can heal it off if she needs to. Rally token, all that does is we gain 1 back, so we're up to 3. And those 2 attacks are done. But we still have 2 left in hand. So we'll do this one first, the most expensive attack that we have so far. So range of 3, 1 damage, 3 damage into a zone next to that, plus hold. Heal 1, rally, roll to see if you get a yellow card. Lots going on in this card. So the way to do this is that we obviously target one zone. It has a range of 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to target this zone here. So we do 1 damage here, but then we're allowed to do 3 damage into a zone next to that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do 3 damage into this zone. So Pali is in a bit of a kind of struggle situation here in that, you know, to get out of any damage, she's going to have to move 1, 2, 3 at least. So this could be tricky. We know she has 6 movement, so it should be okay. So we've done that plus hold. So hold goes on where the hold goes where these icons are, not on Pali herself. So that means, again, if she moves here, she has to waste a movement token just to get rid of the hold token, then has to move again. That could really affect things. We heal off 1, so that gets rid of this, so we won't have a zone advance here. That's really good. Rally 1, get the rally token back. And then we roll to see if we get a yellow card for doing this illegal move. So no, I don't think it rolled that well. Just the setup here, the weight of dice as well. It's not the best dice. It just tends to just kind of like stick. But either way, it didn't work. We don't get a yellow card. We have all of our tokens back. That's worked out pretty well, and we have a pretty tough situation. Plus, we still have this attack to go, so we can do 1 damage, transition into 1, and then move 1. So the way that works is we're going to have to, again, we can't attack into zones we've already attacked into, so it has to be here, and then the transition goes in here. So there's actually damage in all zones, as you can see here. Now, of course, Pali can just use a firebending attack to get rid of the icons, like anywhere here, to create a free zone, but it's not ideal for sure. And then we move across here. Okay, that's the way that works. And then what do we do then? Oh yeah, we do this check here for damage. So these 2 fire tokens don't do anything. No one's there anymore. The combustion token hits both Adi and Ula, so they both get knocked back. We'll put Adi here and Ula here, and the combustion token then goes away. Now, this is where we can then choose to buy more cards. we only have 2 chi. All of these ones here cost 3 or 5. So what we do here is we have to make sure we flip a card over at the very least. So what we do here is this. We'll just say, okay, we want to see a different card for fire. We have to flip it over. This one still stays face up. It's just that this one goes over the top of it. So yeah, now we have Blaze of Glory kind of showing. We still can't buy it. So what we have to do is we draw one card. Our deck is gone. So we just shuffle our discard pile. I can't really shuffle that well with one hand, so we'll just do that and draw 2 cards. Actually, what we can do actually now is that given that we have to reset, we can actually get rid of one of these cards. So I'll actually get rid of, remove one of these 0-cost Firebender cards from the game. So we can focus more on getting our good cards, and we draw 2. So 3 earth attacks coming next time round. And again, this card is removed from the game. And then we move on again. So you can sort of see what's happening here. I'll just play this turn. I won't go too much longer in terms of playing the whole game here. It obviously doesn't take this long. I'm explaining everything here. So again, she goes up 1 to get 1 chi back. And then she can attack if she needs to. So here's what she has in hand. 2 rapid explosions. So move, combustion, move, combustion, move. So she has 3 movements and then 3 movements. So this is where you kind of have to plan things out of like, okay, 1, 2, 3, because there's a hold icon there. So 3 movement will get her here. And she has no way. This is interesting when you look at it in that Combustion Blast can't annihilate. So she's actually trapped here. Like, she actually can't do anything because none of her cards can take out elemental icons. So she's going to take a hit. It's just about moving into a position where she only takes 1 hit. Now, she could accept where she is right there and be moved back 2 if she really, really wanted to. And that would give a big line advance for the Rabaroos. But probably she wants to at least waste 1 of these cards. So it would be an absolute waste to do both of these, because what would happen is that you'd place your tokens like where you want, like 4 combustion tokens here. Then you get to the end of your turn, you'd be knocked back 2 zones, and immediately the line advance happens, which clears off the attacks that you just did. That's something you do need to be cautious about with this game. I think in like the first or second game that I played, the timing of when everything happens kind of tricked me a couple of times, and I definitely wasted a couple of attacks. So the best thing for Polite to do here is to basically discard 1 card for chi to go up to 2, and then use this card to just get into a zone where she's only hit once. So we don't need to worry about placing the tokens. She's going to accept the line advance. So 1 movement here, 1 movement gets rid of the move token, and then move here. This goes away. It doesn't matter where her attack's gone because they're just going to be cleared out, because as we say here, none of these elemental tokens do damage. But Pali is hit back 1 zone, which immediately is a line advance for the Rabaroos. And yeah, so what happens here is that Pali has suffered a line advance, so she gets to go again. She just has to finish this turn, which is basically just, I suppose, replenishing the cards in her hand. Whoops, we forgot to put a card out here. So again, she can't buy any of these, even though she's up to 2 chi now. So she just has to draw the remaining 2 cards in her deck, which are these 2. But she does get the next turn. So I'll actually play this turn so I can just see how things go. We might, we might actually use some of the tricks just to end things off. But we'll see how we go. So yeah, these are our 2 attacks here that we're dealing with. Guard 2, 2 damage, 1 damage. We can get a combustion blast off here. So yeah, we'll use Set Ablaze first. So we'll move 1, do 1 fire damage to, we'll do it here actually. 1 fire damage move and place a combustion token, and we'll place it, we'll actually just place it here next to the Earthbender. So that's that attack done. Then this one, the heal 2 doesn't matter, there's no attacks coming in. 2 piercing damage and then 1 normal damage. Again, the piercing only matters if you're attacking into a zone that has like defensive kind of element tokens. So we'll put the 2 here against Addy, and the 1 we'll actually put here. That way if the Earthbender moves, they have to be pushed back and everyone's under hit, can be hit. And then we'll just say, okay, we'll activate Incinerate here, the token. We've used the technique, we can use this. It has a removal icon, so it goes removed away, but it allows us to remove a card in the deck in the discard pile from play. So we'll just remove this low cost card here from the game, and then we just have to, of course, replenish our deck, see what we can buy. She goes up to 3 chi. She used both of her cards here, so that's the max that she has this turn. 1 card has to be flipped over, of course, even though she's not buying anything. So again, still too expensive for her. So all she has to do is just reset her discard pile to draw 2 cards. And we move into the Rabaru's next turn, and you progress like this. And you can see the flow of the game in a way, in that it's slightly easier for the solo bender to get their technique cards into play, and then their high-end technique cards are so powerful that it's very difficult to defend against, like piercing 4, double combustion blast, and even there, like she was on the defensive this turn, but still did like an impressive amount of damage. And you can sort of see how it goes, and that it's not a mismatch just because it's 3-on-1. They make the cards for Pali powerful enough to where she can properly defend herself. I think in a way I built the setup for this Rabaru's with the tricks specifically, so that they have a very strong advantage here, in that, like, take the next turn, we've got 3 attacks coming in from the Earthbender, plus we can activate the Earth trick if we want to add a hold token, and then we could keep that active if we wanted to. Plus, over the course of these cards, you can activate a Blitz, so that's a 4th attack. Then we'll replenish the 2 with the 2 rally tokens. Let's just look at the top card of the deck to see what we get. And look, it just so happened that the top card of the deck was the most powerful card we bought already, so that would be a very, very powerful turn, the amount of damage coming in there just from 1 turn. So that would be 2 in 1 zone, 2 in 1 zone, 2 in 1 zone, 1 in 1 zone, then 3 in another zone, plus a hold. Plus we could have activated the trick hold, that's 2 hold tokens on the board. That's an impressive turn. That I think Pali would have struggled to deal with, because again, the negative side of this card is it's not great defensively if your opponent has kind of gone wide on you, and then even this one, it only can heal off 1. So if there's a weakness to Pali, it is that you can take advantage of her, because like her combustion bending is very powerful offensively. It's not very good defensively. But yeah, that's how the solo bender plays. It's only a slight alteration to the overall way the game plays, in that, like, it's 2 cards in hand, it's 2 technique decks, you have to play with tricks, and then you're dealing with obviously 1 character on the board. And then depending on which one they're using, it really doesn't change that much. Like with changing to Unalaq, all you do is you get rid of the combustion tokens and you bring in the spirit bending token. With Kuvira, you don't even have tokens. You just maybe need to roll the referee die a little bit more for her ability. So that's the difference. And as you can see here with the Rabaru's, you bring in the rally tokens. If you switch to a different team, you'd maybe bring in the pressure tokens. For the Wolf Bat, you'd bring in the daze tokens. Some of the other teams, actually, their ability doesn't require extra tokens. So they give you a lot of tokens, like in this set, but you don't need to use that many depending on what's going on. Now, when you get later on in the game, there are situations where, like, say I had a turn where I used like 4 Addy cards and I really lit up the field with like 15 elemental tokens, and then it was Poli's turn, then absolutely, yeah, you can get into a situation where you have like, 20, 30 fire tokens on the field, and you have to really break into the extra bag to get the other fire tokens out. But that's a pretty rare occasion. That doesn't come up that often. Yeah, I like the way Solar Benders play. I think I still overall would say I prefer a team versus a team, just because I like the variety of just the different elements, the fact that you can only activate tricks if you have a card for that trick. That works better. But the Solar Benders are well thought out, and you have to praise the designers for getting the balance right of 3 versus 1 and giving the one power enough to match, but not utterly overpower 3 opponents with weaker cards. So yeah, that's how Solar Benders work. In the comments, let me know if there's any other videos on the Pro Bending Arena game you want to see me do. But yeah, that's been the video for today. Thanks for watching, and bye.